So students, during the last lecture, we spoke about the factors that are affecting the environment. You saw in the flow chart that was drawn during the last lecture, you have two types of factors that are affecting the environment: the man-made factors and the natural factors. Now students, in continuation with the same, we will see what is the major factor that causes damage to the environment, or what is the major factor that affects the environment. It is well known, students, for a long time that pollution caused by either natural factors or man-made activities contributes to one of, or makes up for one of the largest factors that are affecting the environment. Students, pollution can be defined as any unacceptable or unnecessary change in the physical, chemical or biological properties of the environment, which is then harmful to all living organisms and which could be caused by natural or man-made activities. We term this as pollution. I repeat once again, any unacceptable or unnecessary change in the properties, namely the physical properties, the chemical properties and the biological properties of the environment, thereby causing harm to living organisms, is termed as pollution. Now students, we will see the different types of pollution. The major types of pollution, of course, are air pollution, soil pollution, water pollution, you have sound or noise pollution. The more newer concepts being taught now are thermal pollution and also light pollution. So let's have a look at how we define pollution once again. So students, let's have a look at what is pollution. Unnecessary and unacceptable changes caused in the chemical, physical and biological properties of the environment due to contamination by natural factors and human activities is called as pollution. Contamination means making impure, right? So any unnecessary or unacceptable change that takes place in the chemical, physical or biological properties of the environment due to contamination by natural factors and human activities can be termed as pollution. Now there can be a lot of changes, like for example a physical change, or it means a change in the physical property of environment could mean the proportion of carbon dioxide increasing. The biological changes is some species of living organisms can get endangered or they may be on the verge of extinction. Then reduction in the number of forests is an example of biological properties of the atmosphere. Change in the species of living organisms or maybe endangering of species of living organisms is a biological property. Chemical property could also include the constitution of atmosphere changing. The constitution of atmosphere is carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen. You may have some other gaseous elements which are toxic to human beings being released in the atmosphere. So that causes a change in the chemical property of the environment. So all these changes caused in the physical, chemical or biological properties of the environment due to contamination is collectively called as pollution, and it can be caused by natural factors as well as human activities. Now students, the different types of environmental pollution are air pollution, soil pollution, water pollution, sound pollution, thermal pollution, and light pollution. We will also have a look at the sources of these pollution. In your textbook, you have the sources of air pollution, soil pollution, and water pollution. I will also touch upon the sources and effects of sound pollution, thermal pollution, and light pollution, right? So we move on to the causes, the sources, and measures for controlling the different types of pollution, including their effects on the environment and the living beings in the environment. So students will have a look at the three main types of pollution, that is air, water, and soil pollution, right? So let's have a look at their components. Components means what are the pollutants that cause air pollution, water pollution, and soil pollution. Then we will look at the source and the effects. So we'll begin with air. So we'll take up air pollution. Now there are various pollutants in air, like carbon dioxide. From where do you get carbon dioxide? From burning of wood, from burning of fuel, fossil fuel, from some industries. Then you have carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide basically is a pollutant that is released into the atmosphere due to incomplete combustion of fossil fuels from vehicles. Then you have nitrogen dioxide released from various industrial processes, hydrogen sulfide also released from various industrial processes. So these are some of the gaseous components of air pollution. Then you have some of the solid air pollutants like dust from various sources, dust from construction sites, from road building, from various other activities. Then ash you will have from burning of fuels. Then asbestos from cement factories. These are some of the many pollutants present in air. Besides these are some of the prominent ones, but besides them you have many other pollutants, some natural pollutants also, like pollen, pollen grains that come from the flowers, right? So pollen also is a pollutant. It has harmful effect. It can cause respiratory problems like asthma. So these are the pollutants that cause air pollution. Now from where do all these pollutants come? See, I told you carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, they mainly come from vehicles. Carbon monoxide mainly is from the fumes in the vehicles, and it is very, very harmful, how we will see in the effect. So carbon monoxide is mainly emitted from vehicles. Then you have nitrogen dioxide emitted from industrial processes. Even hydrogen sulfide is the source of hydrogen sulfide are industries. Then you also have chlorofluorocarbons, right? Chlorofluorocarbons are basically used in air conditioners and refrigerators as coolants for cooling purpose, and when the moment you switch it on, these are liberated into the atmosphere. The CFC is a major cause of depletion of the ozone layer. The hole over the Antarctica, what you call, is a hole in the ozone layer caused by CFC, chlorofluorocarbons. Then you also have the sources road mix materials. When construction of new roads, concretization of roads, metalling of roads, they also liberate a lot of pollutants into the atmosphere. So these are some of the sources of the air pollutants. Of course, carbon dioxide, I told you, it comes from burning of fossil fuels. Then, since the air that we control, that we breathe, cannot be controlled by us, there are a lot of problems because you cannot control the air that you breathe. So there are numerous harmful effects, especially on human beings and animals, because if they breathe in polluted air, then there is going to be an effect, harmful effect on the health. So most of the common effects of air pollution is irritation of the eyes due to coming in contact with pollutants. Then breathing polluted air causes inflammation of the respiratory tract and many respiratory disorders also. It can cause lung cancer as well. Now I was speaking to you about carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide, which is released from vehicles due to incomplete combustion of petrol, diesel, etc., that carbon monoxide which is released in the fumes that are liberated by vehicles has a big impact on the oxygen carrying capacity of our blood. What I mean to tell you is that if you keep on inhaling a good amount of carbon monoxide, then what happens is it goes directly and affects the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. The hemoglobin gets affected because the hemoglobin present in your blood is responsible for carrying oxygen to the different cells. So carbon monoxide goes and sits on that hemoglobin and blocks the hemoglobin, thereby reducing the oxygen holding capacity of your blood. So that's a very big effect of carbon monoxide on human health. Then inhalation of poisonous substances from air can lead to cancer. Then tuberculosis is also a major killer disease, and that is due to air pollution. You all have heard of the acid rain. Acid rain is basically nitric acid and sulfuric acid which is formed in air. When they come down with the rain, they form acid rain and they can destroy important historical monuments. They can even make the soil acidic and infertile. So these are the effects of air pollution. Now let's look at some of the components or pollutants in water. The major pollutants in water basically are dyes and colors that are liberated from various industries, including textile industries. Then soap also, soap water, detergents that may come from domestic waste. Then you have mercury, that is a heavy metal. Mercury and lead also come from industrial processes. Hot water can also be released in industrial processes during cooling. After metallurgical processes, they require to carry out cooling. So for cooling, during the cooling process, a lot of heat is trapped by the water, and that hot water is liberated into water bodies which can alter the temperature of the water. If the temperature of the water gets altered, it will have obvious effects and cause damage to aquatic life, which you will see. So these are some of the important water pollutants. Then the source of these water pollutants are from industries, then from domestic, that is from households like kitchen waste, bathroom waste, sewage waste. Okay, then you have chemicals and pesticides also which come from various industries. They also are released into the water bodies. These pesticides, if they are sprayed on fields near a river or a lake, these pesticides may mix with the rainwater and flow into the nearby water bodies, causing water pollution as well. Right? So these are the sources of water pollution, and the effects. If you consume polluted or contaminated water, it will have an effect on your digestive system. So inflammation of the abdomen, that's the stomach, and damage to the intestines may also take place. Then you also have, I told you, if hot water and polluted water is liberated into the creeks, the river bodies, ultimately they flow into the ocean and they damage aquatic life in the ocean as well as the freshwater bodies like lakes and ponds. Then consuming contaminated water may also affect your thinking power or may have an effect on the brain, functioning of the brain as well. Now let us look at some of the pollutants of the soil. Major pollutants of soil are waste generated in form of plastic, lot of plastic bags, polythene bags which are banned nowadays, right? Plastic, thermocol, biomedical waste. Biomedical waste is waste coming from hospitals during surgeries, amputated limbs, organs, blood, bandages. These are biomedical waste. Then fertilizers also, excessive use of fertilizers can cause damage to the soil. It can make the soil saline, because if you use excessive fertilizers, when the water evaporates, the salts get left on the surface of the soil, causing the soil to become infertile. So these are some of the major pollutants of the soil, and the sources of soil pollutants are normally domestic waste, these plastic articles and others. They are generated from homes. So domestic waste, hospital waste, sometimes industrial waste, they also dump their solid waste into the soil, making the soil infertile. And the effects of soil pollution are the soil mainly becomes infertile. Sometimes the soil gets eroded also. Then there is a direct effect on the growth of plants, because if plants absorb the pollutants or the soil becomes infertile, the growth of plants get retarded or they slow down. So obviously there is a direct effect on the growth of plants due to soil pollution. Students, I will be sending you this entire chart, but please listen to the video lecture, try to memorize the important points and understand why a certain pollutant causes certain effects. Together with the effects, there is control for each one of them, control measures for air pollution, for water pollution and soil pollution. I will send you this tabular form so you can learn it, read it, and then afterwards you can answer questions based on them, right? So this is all for today's lecture. Tomorrow's lecture we will take up the need for conservation of the environment, why environment conservation is important, and what are the steps to be taken to control or conserve the environment for future generations. So we have now studied how the environment gets affected majorly by pollution, and pollution is one of the largest causes of environmental damage. We have seen the different types of pollution that take place and causing environmental damage. The first being air pollution, mainly caused from industries, vehicular traffics, etc. So air pollution is also a major issue. Besides water pollution being caused by various activities being carried out in the ocean, oil rigs, then all damaging the aquatic life and causing damage to the marine ecosystem. We also have had a look at soil pollution caused due to excessive use of fertilizers, spraying of pesticides for agricultural processes. Pesticides also causes a lot of damage to the soil. Then another source of pollution is noise or sound pollution caused by vehicle or automobiles, which pollute, make a lot of sound pollution. Then music systems being played on loud volume, including DJ systems, they also are a major cause of sound pollution. You have the roaring aeroplanes adding to a high decibel level, causing a lot of noise pollution. Students, noise pollution has a very serious effect on human health, causing permanent or partial loss to the hearing system. It may lead to permanent or temporary deafness. In addition to that, sound pollution also has effects on heart palpitation, increase in heart rate, stomach spasms, etc. Another source of pollution is light pollution, is another major pollution which mainly takes place in urban areas and highly populated cities. Due to light pollution, citizens are unable to view the celestial events that take place, like the shooting stars, then a meteorite shower, or many other beautiful celestial events. Sometimes an eclipse can be missed due to the city lights or due to light pollution. Another type of pollution that one comes across is thermal pollution. All of you are aware of the concept of global warming. It is because of the levels of carbon dioxide increasing in the atmosphere due to industrial activity trapping. With the proportion of carbon dioxide increasing, greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane are trapped and they cannot escape the Earth's atmosphere, thereby increasing the temperature, leading to global warming. Global warming is causing the melting of ice in the polar regions. With the melting of ice, the level of sea is rising and coastal areas near the sea are in danger of being submerged in the near future. So students, thank you for viewing and take care.